Today, we will see just how vile, twisted, and terrifying human beings can be. Yes, a psychopath or a serial killer, someone who appears perfectly normal, might be walking right beside you. Yet, lurking within their mind is a monster capable of turning lives into nightmares the moment the opportunity arises. The most terrifying part is that you might walk past them every day without ever realizing just how dangerous they truly are. Take this incident, for example. It all began with an emergency call. On the other end of the line, a woman spoke in a trembling voice, reporting that a young woman was being held captive inside a house with a chain fastened around her neck. At first, the police found the report hard to believe. After all, this was real life, not a movie. But minutes later, when officers arrived at the scene, they realized the situation was far more horrifying than they had imagined. The entire house was eerily silent. The windows were boarded up with wood and the doors were screwed shut, as if someone inside was being deliberately hidden from the outside world. Then, suddenly, a woman's terrified scream drifted down from a broken upper-story window. The police realized someone was indeed being held captive inside. When they finally broke in, the scene that greeted them looked like something straight out of a psychopathic horror movie. A woman was standing there with a heavy metal chain wrapped around her neck. That chain wasn't merely looped around a post, it was securely anchored to the floor with specialized iron fittings. Someone had clearly taken the time to meticulously plan and construct a setup to imprison a human being just like an animal. To the police, the house felt like a torture chamber. And this is where the most harrowing part of the story unfolds. The investigation revealed that the captor hadn't just imprisoned the woman, he had completely shattered her mentally. He terrorized and beat her daily, threatening to kill her if she ever tried to escape. The woman later told the police she had been so consumed by fear that at one point she believed she would never make it out alive. But the monster's true nature had not yet been fully revealed. The police later discovered that what went on inside that house was far worse than mere abuse. Something truly horrific was taking place. The man behind these atrocities was named Moises May. He forced the young woman into sexual relations with other men in exchange for money. Essentially, he had abducted a human being and reduced her to a state of psychological enslavement. A living person was being kept under his control and systematically broken. Yet the most chilling part was that, to an outsider, he appeared to be an entirely ordinary man. That is precisely what makes it so terrifying, because true monsters often cannot be distinguished from the rest. They walk among us, blending in as normal human beings. A similarly harrowing incident occurred in Ohio, USA. Initially, the police treated it as a routine case of kidnapping or assault. However, within hours, they realized they had stumbled into a twisted, depraved, and terrifying underworld. It all began when a young woman reported to the police that a couple she knew had lured her into a trap and taken her to their compound. There, she had been beaten, terrorized, and subjected to horrific abuse. She had managed to escape and seek help. Yet, the police had no idea just how dark the reality behind the case truly was. As the investigation progressed, they located the secret compound belonging to the suspect, TJ and his girlfriend, Mogani Smith. Upon arrival, however, they discovered that the couple had fled into the woods. What the officers found left inside the house made their blood run cold. Upon entering the house, the first thing they encountered was something bizarre. At first glance, it looked like an ordinary playpen where children might play. But upon closer inspection, the police realized it was actually a cage. It was topped with a wooden gate and securely bound on all sides with zip ties, designed to ensure that whoever was inside could not possibly escape. And inside that cage was a tiny child, only 3 years old. Scattered within were bottles of spoiled milk and foul-smelling filth. The surroundings suggested the child had been confined there for hours on end. As the officers dismantled the enclosure, they were horrified by what they saw. witnessing firsthand the extent of human cruelty. A subsequent search of the house revealed even more terrifying items. Sharp knives, drug paraphernalia, and other lethal objects lay scattered about, hazards that could have killed the children at any moment. The entire house was a toxic nightmare, and it was in this harrowing environment that these young children were being raised. Finally, the police discovered a bizarre journal containing notes on punishment, control, and twisted rules. Investigators realized this was not merely a case of abuse, but a glimpse into the dark world of a deeply depraved family, people who had gradually lost their humanity. That wasn't the end of it. Another horrific incident occurred in Ohio. Initially, the police suspected a routine robbery or murder. Little did they know the case would lead them into the world of a serial killer, a man who would break into homes and commit such savage murders that he seemed less like a human and more like a predatory beast. The incident came to light when a woman named Sarah Evans entered a friend's home and screamed. Before her lay the bloodied corpse of 59-year-old Benny King. The room was awash in blood, splattered on the walls, soaking the bed, and staining the hallway. Police discovered that the elderly man had been stabbed not just once or twice, but 33 times. They deduced that the attack began in the bedroom, after which Benny had desperately tried to crawl away to save his life. However, the killer followed him to the corridor and finished him off right there. The wounds on his hands suggested he had fought against death until the very last moment. But the truly chilling aspect lay elsewhere. Although the entire house had been ransacked, nothing of significant value was actually stolen. Only the kitchen cabinets stood wide open, as if someone had been frantically searching for something. That was when the police realized the killer was likely looking for money. The investigation brought two brothers, Justin and Johnny, to the police's attention. They had a history of drug-related issues and financial troubles in the area. Just days prior, the elderly man had even driven them out of his home at gunpoint. Naturally, police suspicion fell squarely on them. Yet, just then, a bizarre new detail emerged. Around the time of the murder, an old gold-colored Hummer was spotted in the vicinity. The vehicle was speeding away so violently that the screech of its tires shook the entire street. A young man was behind the wheel. Police later discovered that a local known as Jaybird drove a car of that exact color, and Jaybird was none other than Justin. Everything pointed toward him: drugs, money, past conflicts, and the mysterious vehicle. All the clues seemed to converge. However, the police did not yet realize that this was not an isolated incident. Weeks later, another murder occurred on the other side of town, executed in the exact same style. The same brutality, the same bloody scene, and the same terrifying pattern. That was when the police realized they might be hunting a serial killer. Tragically, thousands of individuals with such twisted minds walk among us, hiding behind the masks of ordinary people. It is nearly impossible to discern the darkness and horror lurking within them. So, please stay vigilant to keep yourself and your loved ones safe. See you in the next episode. Thank you.